Good afternoon and welcome to Live from the Eagle's Nest. I'm Randy Robinson coming to you from the National Conservation Training Center studio near Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And it's a beautiful day out in Eagle Land there. We just saw a shot of the eagle nest tree up in the big sycamore out in the field, about 90 feet up off the ground and near the Potomac River. Now, we are partnering, and I want to say thanks to all of our partners today to make this all possible, partnering with the Outdoor Channel that provides a website and a nice chat room for us, and also the Friends of the National Conservation Training Center. We want to say hello to all of our old friends and all of our new friends too. And if you're brand new to this site, welcome. It will get you up to speed with what's been going on. And there's been a lot going on this last week for sure. We've had 2 eggs hatch and the 2 eaglets are doing very well. We're glad to see that. And so we are right now looking at the female. Now we've got 3 cameras on the nest here. The camera that we're looking at is kind of a lateral view looking towards the northwest. Now it's a little bit of a breezy day out there, a little bit chilly, so she's protecting the eagles, but I'm guessing sometime in the next hour or so that we're here, she will probably get off the eaglets and we'll get a look at them. And we've got lots of video to share with you as well from the past couple weeks, and some scenes of NCTC that you haven't ever seen before. So thanks for joining us today to talk about bald eagles. And go ahead and send your questions in anytime. We like to answer as many questions as we can. And want to say thanks to our production team here, Brett Billings and Rob Garfinkel, and our friends at Bald Eagles 101 and everybody that helps keep us up to date with the chat room. Now you may be viewing, right now you are viewing on YouTube, and you can see those 3 different cameras, 3 different views on YouTube. But if you go to outdoorchannel.com/eaglecam, there's where we have the chat room. You can have a link to all 3 cameras, but you can also put questions in there anytime onto that chat room. And that's on the outdoorchannel.com/eaglecam. So we want to say hello to our folks viewing. We've got Miss L's class up in Sharon, Massachusetts. Thanks for joining us. Afternoon from Western North Carolina, WNC I think it is. Pennsylvania, San Diego. Hi Debbie. Rose in LA. Very nice to see you all. And hello from Texas. Afternoon, NCTC from High Level, Alberta, Canada, and I know that's Deb Stecyk. She has been on the EagleCam here since it started way back in 2005, and Deb's a daily contributor, and we appreciate all the good work that she does, as well as with Bald Eagles 101, and all of our observers who help us keep track of what's going on pretty much day and night here on the nest. So yeah, you can send your questions anytime on the YouTube chat, and we'll get to those. We want to give you a little orientation to NCTC as we go along and get into the video and photos. Okay, so all right. So we've got a video here of a flight over the Potomac River, and we're looking towards the West Virginia side of the Potomac, flying from Maryland to the West Virginia side. You can see a little bit of NCTC buildings in the background, but this is the view the eagles get over the river. So beautiful river, and that's why the bald eagles are here. They came here in 2003. And they came for the fish. Bald eagles are fish eaters, especially when they're raising young. And this is the view that the eagles would see when they're flying along the Potomac River. There's a couple islands right there in the middle of the river, 2 small islands. Now West Virginia's on the right and Maryland's on the left as we're looking. You might be familiar with the C&O Canal Trail that goes all the way from Washington, D.C. up to Pittsburgh, about a 380-mile long, beautiful bike trail, goes right along the Potomac River, very near here on the other side of the river from NCTC. So it's a beautiful stretch of river, and that's where the bald eagles like to hang out. Now we've got two young ones in the nest. We can just see the kind of the talons. He just moved there. You can see that looks like the older one. The eaglets hatched on March 27th, actually 3:27 p.m. on 3/27 or March 27th. So that makes the first eaglet hatched 13 days old today, and we're calling that one E13. The second one hatched was E14, and E14 hatched on May 30th. So the younger one would be 10 days old today. And right around 10 days of age is when these young eaglets begin to get their thermal down. Thermal meaning heat. It's a down that's very good at trapping the heat. Now it doesn't stop the wind or the rain. They still need the adult's protection from wind and rain and snow, but the thermal down helps them maintain their body temperature, and at around 10 days they can begin to regulate their own body heat. So on nice days we will see them out from underneath the adults, but right now that's the female sitting there, and she's a little bigger of the two birds, and we might see the male come on during the program. My guess is that he is down along the river looking for fish to bring back. And these young ones, they're a little bitty now, but they grow amazingly fast. They're getting little bits of fish, roughly about every hour they get fed. But as they get older, and you're going to see them grow as you keep tuning in through the next 11 weeks or so, but by mid-June, these little eaglets will be adult size and ready to leave the nest or fledge for the first time. So it's amazing how fast it all happens. Sometimes it almost seems like we can see them change from day to day. So thanks for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and get into some some videos right now from the last couple weeks. Let's take a look at the eggs hatching. Maybe you missed those. So this is from March 27th, and this is a video of the first hatch. Now you can see the little one there right under the head of the adult. That's the female on the nest. Now, it's not like in the cartoons when you see the little bird pop out of the egg and happens all of a sudden. It can take anywhere from 10, 12, 14 hours for a young eaglet to get out of an egg. It's a lot of work. It starts with them using their egg tooth. It's a little sharp bump on their beak. They make a little pip hole, and that's how it all starts. And from there, they get the egg to crack. But that takes a lot of energy, and so they're pretty tired and worn out by the time they fully get out of the egg. But you can see, you saw the female there turn that second egg, and she's going to snuggle back in there. And she can feel the young one moving, of course. Now we're right a little bit later that same day, right around 3:27. She's looking down at the young one, and she wants to give him or her, we don't know whether it's a boy or a girl, we won't know the sex at any time, really. We won't be able to tell. We could only guess that when they're adult size, the bigger one could be female, but that's just a guess on our part. Without a blood test, we can't really say whether the young ones are male or female. But there's the little one. So that's the hatch that we're seeing right now. And this happened 13 days ago up in the nest, and that was the first hatch, or E13. Now when we say E13 or 14, we're talking about the 13th and 14th eggs to hatch from this female here. And we just saw the male in this next video, also from the 27th of March. He just brought some dry grass in, and now these two are going to switch places. So the big female is getting up, and she needs to stretch her wings. She's been on that egg all night long. You can see her big talons there. She needs to take a little break. We want to say thanks to Deb for these nice videos that she's posted on YouTube. So you can see these videos on YouTube anytime. If you go to Deb Steck's YouTube page, you'll see just exactly what we're looking at right now, both eggs hatching actually. So this is the male coming in. You can see he's a little smaller, a little more narrow in the chest area. He weighs maybe a couple pounds less, slightly smaller wingspan, but he's got that telltale black spot on the back of his neck. That's an easy way to ID him. And there goes the female. She's taking off, and she's going to fly in the direction of the river, stretch her wings, and take a little break while Scout there, the male, we call him Scout, and the female is known as Bella. And the young one, this is his first view of the young one. I think the young one there chirped a little bit and scared him a bit. So Rob, I don't know if we have audio going out here, but we can actually hear the young ones chirping. And you just saw the adult there turn that egg. The second egg is 3 days away from hatching. But this was a pretty chilly day back there, March 27th. So now we're looking at the second hatch here. So this is early in the morning, about 6:38. And by the way, the cameras switch over automatically to color. Now we're seeing black and white right here because it's early morning and the sun is not out in full yet. But once it gets enough light, that camera will automatically switch to the color mode. We can even see the eaglets or the eagles at night with an infrared light. They don't see it, and we can't see it up in the tree, but the camera senses it, and that's what allows us to see the black and white photos of them at night. So you just saw in the video, the female pulled out there's about a half of an eggshell she pulled out there, and this is the 30th of March, and the second egg is about ready to hatch here. So if you've got any questions coming in, go ahead and put those in the chat room, and we'll look at a couple more videos. So we got a nice look here. You can see the first young eaglets, 3 days old. He's already sitting upright. They're a little bit weak when they first come out. They need some hours, half a day or more to rest to get strength, and they're a little wobbly at first, but he's 3 days old. Now the little one in the shell is about halfway out. And now we can hear the audio. You hear them cheeping. And there's some turkeys in the background. There's some wild turkey. If you listen closely, we could hear them calling out there in the early morning. Yeah, we'll take a look at this next video that's coming up. It is, the little one is almost out there, and so the adults, the females on the left, see how much bigger her head is than the male, but the male really wants to feed the young ones here, so he's actually taking the food out of the female's beak, and he wants to feed the young one there. So that's E13, or the number 13 hatch, and he's the one eating, and they're E14 or eaglet number 14 almost out of that shell, and that's the second hatch, and that happened about 8:30 in the morning back on March 30th. So that little eaglet that we just saw hatch right there is now 10 days old, and we'll probably get a better look at them in a little while here on the nest. So it's a lot of fun to see the tandem feedings. And it also helps when both adults are in there, they can each feed one of the young ones and they can get fed at the same time, but that happens every now and then, but it's always fun to see. So that's what a baby eaglet looks like when it first comes out. The egg itself is a little bit bigger than a chicken egg, a little bigger than a duck egg too, if you've ever seen a duck egg. But we were lucky to have both of them hatch, and they're very healthy and doing very well. So a lot of people ask about the two young ones. They'll sometimes peck on each other or bonk each other, and that's natural. We see that all the time, and as long as food is plentiful, they're both going to get fed, and we don't have to worry about that. And they'll each get fed, and you can even see the little talon of the one now on the live shot, just along the shadow edge of the tree limb there. The talons in the beak grow faster than the rest of the body. And in a couple weeks, they'll be kind of stumbling around. Their talons will be too big for the rest of their body. Right now we want to show you a video we call Conservation Connect. And this is a video series that we've done over the years on many different species of animals. And these are made for middle high school students. They're out there, or teachers that would like to use them. They're free. They're available to the public. They're on YouTube. If you go to conservation-connect.com, you'll see about 30 different videos. They've also got lesson plans for the teachers to use. And we're looking at the website right now, Conservation Connect. The very first one we did was on bald eagles. And so each of these videos are about 8 minutes long, give or take. We've done them on bats, black bears, black-footed ferrets, manatees, and turtles, brook trout. So they were a great video series, and each one of them talks about a particular species and also a career or people that work to learn about the species or help protect the species, and a particular technology that we use. We also have educational toolboxes or lesson plans for the teachers. For example, the one on bald eagles has a lesson plan on how students can actually construct a model bald eagle wing. So let's go ahead and take a look at that very first Conservation Connect series video that we did. And in this one, I'll just say that you're going to see, this was done with the old nest. So the nest you'll be looking at is the old nest that we lost in the windstorm last winter, just the day before Easter. But we'll see that video of Conservation Connect, and then we'll come right back to the live view.
Hi everyone, welcome to our program. My name is Chelsea McKinney, and today I'm going to be your host as we explore all the different types of technology that conservation professionals use to observe wildlife. Today, I am at the home of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, where our job is to protect wildlife, all sorts of wildlife, including plants, animals, and their habitats, to help protect endangered species. Well, today, I'm standing in front of a beautiful eagle's nest. Now, these eagles have become a part of our service's history for the past 8 years. We have a tall sycamore tree that the eagles have chosen in order to be able to see far away. This makes for the perfect location for these eagles to catch fish right out of the Potomac River. These eagles are awesome. Adults actually have a 7 to 8 foot wingspan, and they weigh about 8 to 14 pounds. The female is typically larger than the male, and the distinctive white head and tail feathers appear when the eagles mature at around 4 to 5 years old. Now, bald eagles are believed to live about 30 years or longer in the wild. They mate for life, building huge nests on top of large trees near rivers, lakes, and other types of wetlands. The adults will often return to this exact same nest year after year, making additions to the nest every single year. Now, some nests can reach up to 10 feet across and weigh up to 2,000 pounds. Now, that's about the size of your average car or even a hippopotamus. Eagles feed primarily on fish, but they'll also feed on ducks, rodents, and snakes. Both the male and the female build the nest, but the female actually chooses the nest tree. We're here with Jim Siegel, a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service biologist here at the National Conservation Training Center and our eagle expert. Jim, thanks for being with us here today.
You're welcome, Chelsea.
Can you go ahead and talk to me about how many eggs typically an eagle's nest will have?
Eagles typically lay 1 to 3 eggs, usually 2. Both parents incubate the eggs, and they're going to sit on the eggs for 35 days.
Okay, and then once those eggs hatch, can you talk to me kind of about how long the young will stay in the nest and what that feeding process is like?
The babies are going to be in the nest for 11 to 12 weeks. Both parents are going to feed them, and it's a very delicate process in which they're literally breaking the food into very small little pieces. And around the fledging time, the babies really start to flop around and really flap around, exercising their wings. And as soon as they leave the nest, they're going to be staying in the area for 6 weeks, still being fed by their parents. And they learn to both fly and feed on their own.
Jim, why were the bald eagles an endangered species, and why and how have they become such a conservation success story today?
Eagle populations started to decline severely in the 1940s because of the invention of DDT, a very strong pesticide. It caused the eagles' eggs to thin, and they weren't able to hatch their eggs. Starting in 1978, the eagles were put on the endangered species list as the population had declined to about 450 pairs in the lower 48 states. The pesticide DDT was banned because of its impacts on birds and other wildlife. By 1995, because of the ban on DDT, the eagle population had recovered significantly, and there was about 95,000 birds around that time period. In 1997, the eagles were delisted to threatened. And then by 2007, the population had recovered so greatly that they were able to remove the eagle off the endangered species list altogether. Today, there's about 200,000 birds in North America, with Alaska having about a quarter of them.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you again so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Hi everyone, I've got Ryan Haggerty here, a video producer at the National Conservation Training Center, and Ryan and I are standing in front of the sycamore tree where the eagle nest sits over 100 feet high. Ryan, you've got all this awesome equipment. How do you go about installing a webcam in this eagle nest?
There's a lot of different ways, but it all ends up with you getting from the bottom to the top of a tree or wherever the nest is. So the most simplest way is you take a rope and a weighted object and you throw it over the limbs and you pull your rope up. And of course you have to have a nice heavy harness and be able to ascend into the tree. A very cool way to get into the tree as well is to use a bow and arrow, and
Nice.
especially out west, you can shoot this over a tree limb and then pull your rope up. It's kind of like the Hunger Games, right?
Right.
And so our arborist has decided the only safe way to get up there is by a crane and a big bucket truck. So we actually drop an arborist into the nest from above. It has to be clean. So every year someone has to get up there and clean that camera, readjust it.
That's very cool. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate it. There are a variety of reasons we use cameras in wildlife study. Some cameras are set up for law enforcement to catch poachers who take wildlife illegally. Others are for biological purposes to see animal behaviors and feedings that we could never see otherwise. Other biologists can use this technology to track migration, like with a pod of dolphins. Our Eagle camera, for instance, is being used for educational purposes. We're going to give you a taste of all of this, and we'll talk to a variety of different people working in a variety of different careers, all helping wildlife in some form from all over the world. We'll look forward to being with you next episode as we venture in and see the endangered manatee up close and personal at Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge in Florida. Thank you all so much for being with us today. We'll see you next episode.
So you got to see some parts of NCTC that you don't normally get to see on the EagleCam. The big old barn there. Now the nest is close to that barn, but you don't see that really on the EagleCam itself. You also saw how we get the cameras up there in the fall with in the old days we had a climber, as you saw demonstrated, but the nest got so big that it wasn't possible to climb around it anymore. So then in later years, remember the first camera we put up here in 2005, and the technology has changed a lot. The cameras have improved dramatically. So we now have luckily to have a local tree service company that comes out with their truck. It goes up, the crane goes 100 feet, and we have a climber. That Kyle Friend is his name. He harnesses himself to the crane end of it and goes up 100 feet into the air and doesn't have to even climb into the nest at all. And he wears a climbing harness, is suspended from the crane. So that's how we do it now. That's the safest and the quickest way to get up and change the cameras. That said, we never do that. We would never go up there this time of the year. Of course, we don't want to disturb the nesting birds in any way, any nesting birds for that matter, not just bald eagles, but any nesting birds. Leave them alone, enjoy them from a distance with a pair of binoculars or an EagleCam if you have one to look at online. So you saw also in that video, you saw what a young eaglet looks like, about 2 months of age, that one bird with all the black feathers hopping around. So hopefully that's what our little guys that we have in the nest right now are going to look like in just a couple of months. They're sleeping right now. We can see kind of the one talon just moved there a little bit. So we'll go ahead and go back and look at actually we've got some questions to answer here, and then we'll look at some more videos. So Mrs. L's class was asking if it's possible to tell if the eaglets are boys or girls, and if so, what their names will be. No, we do not know if they're boys or girls, and in fact, we may never know that. The only thing we can guess is once they get grown up to, in about 3 months when they're adult size, we might guess that if there's a bigger one, she could be the female, because females are a little bit bigger than males. The only way to tell for sure is with a blood test, and we won't be doing that. Nor will we ban them. There's another question about banning them. We don't ban these eagles. Now, in some past years, eagles were banded a lot for research when we were repopulating eagles. But today, with the populations on the rise, there's really not a need or a purpose or a reason for banning the eagles. So these birds here are totally wild. They've never been banded, and they came here on their own many years ago. The original pair here came in 2003. Since that time, we've had 2 different females. This is second female that we see here, and 3 different males. Now we don't name the eagles ourselves, but other people do name them. So the original pair were named Liberty and Bell, like Liberty Bell. Then Liberty disappeared, the male was Liberty, and along came the second male. His name was Smitty. He was a very good male bald eagle, known for his fishing ability, caught lots of fish to feed the young ones. Smitty was here until I believe it was about 2023, and then Scout came in, and we don't know what happened to those males. Sometimes the males fight, sometimes the females fight. They can get into a fight over a mate or over nesting territory. Sometimes they just disappear and we don't know. So now the second female came in about 2018. That's the female that we're looking right now, and that's Bella, B-E-L-L-A. Now the young ones, you just saw the one pop out. That's the older one. This one would be about 13 days old today. And he's gonna maybe get out into the sun a little bit. We'll get a little bit better view. So hello from Wisconsin, hello from Southern California, even Mustang, Oklahoma, Buffalo, New York, Ohio. We're glad you all could join us today. Somebody commented about the Potomac River, the beautiful Potomac. It is a beautiful river, nice and green looking in those videos. Deb is saying that Scout is perched up in the top of the tree, what we call the attic. So we may or may not see him during the program here today, but he's in the same tree just above and out of camera range. Yes, Rose is saying the eaglets look healthy and well fed. They're doing very well. Mrs. L's class wants to know, when will the babies begin to lose their downy feathers? Well, they keep that down. We call that natal down because they come out of the egg with that covering, that whitish, very fine down, D-O-W-N that we call it. And they'll keep that, but then on top of that, they'll start growing thermal down, which is more a darker gray color and kind of thicker. And that helps them keep their body heat in. And now Rob has got a different view for us. We're looking from we have a field camera. It doesn't stream, but we're getting a good view of the nest tree right here. And that's that big sycamore tree. And you can see about 2/3 of the way up that black area. That's the nest that we've got the cameras mounted on. But after the thermal down, that's kind of like their, let's call it a sweater, that keeps them warm, but it's not a raincoat. So the next step, in a few weeks or a month, they're going to start growing their juvenile feathers and then the adult feathers. And those feathers actually work like kind of a raincoat or a wind breaker to keep the wind and the rain off of them. So there's actually 4 stages of feathers that those little young ones will get through the next 3 months. Okay, I think that's all the questions for now. Go ahead and send more questions in if you have them, and we'll go to, we've got a few more videos to share with you here. And this is from March 31st. This is a morning feeding, and in this video, the oldest one is 4 days old. And he's the one going after the food. It's amazing, 3 days make a big difference in an eaglet as far as their strength goes. And the oldest one has an advantage. They're older, they're a little stronger. So he's gonna get fed first. And the strategy of the adults, if there's just one adult feeding, is feed the oldest one first, get him filled up, and he'll fall over and go to sleep. And then feed the second one, the youngest one. And that little one in the video here is just a day old, but it's already strong enough to sit up on its own, sort of. It's kind of leaning on its sibling there. You can see their little black beak, and their mouth is kind of pink inside if we get a look inside their mouth. And the female is very careful, or the male is very careful to pull off little bits of fish, and they don't want to feed too much at any one time. And now we've got a video from April 3rd, And this is Scout, the male, bringing in a big fish. Now, there's a fish species called a sucker, and they have a very distinctive snout. The mouth of the fish, they feed off the bottom of the river, so their mouth is kind of pointed downward. That's how they get the name sucker. And that one that was brought in is called a red horse sucker. They've kind of got a reddish tinge, and those suckers fish are spawning right now. Now, about a mile up the river from the eagle's nest is a shallow area, and there's a dam up there called Dam 4 in the Potomac, small hydro dam, hydroelectric. And so in that shallow area, that's a good place for these eagles to fish. And so they like to bring those, and we've seen several of these big suckers come in at any given time. So these little guys are getting very well fed. And then we've got one more video here from April 3rd. And this is a tandem feeding or a dual feeding. And you can see the little wings, they're actually growing pretty fast. This guy's getting bigger every day. He's 13 days old now, but look at him stretch those wings out. And you can see the little one's quite healthy. We had a little bit of a scary scene just a couple of days ago. The youngest eagle got fed a big piece and started to choke a little bit on it. And Deb's got that video on her website, or on her Facebook, YouTube page. But the little one kind of flopped over, couldn't get there might have been a bone in it. It kind of flopped over and went face down, but fortunately the female recognized that it had a problem, and she came over and was able to get that bone or piece of food out of the mouth of the young one, and it's fine now. So it's good shape. Okay, we're back at the live nest now. And I think we've answered all the questions. And let me remind you, our next program will be April 23rd. That's 2 weeks from today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to have a very special guest with us. April 23rd will be Tina Morris. She is the author of Return to the Sky, and that is a new book all about her work 50 years ago raising young bald eagles. 50 years ago there were very few bald eagles around the mid-Atlantic, and they were on the endangered species list, one of the first animals to be put on that list. And Tina's job at Cornell University, where she was a graduate student, was to figure out how to raise young bald eagles in captivity so they could be released in the wild. So in essence, she became kind of a human bald eagle mother, and she figured that out on her own and then wrote it down, and that was her graduate thesis, and that became the handbook for raising young eagles in captivity in what's known as hacking. Raising a bird in captivity is hacking. So Tina Morris will be our guest, and that will be a great program. You want to see that for sure, and a great book to read as well. So join us again on April 23rd. Thank you very much for joining us today, and enjoy watching the EagleCam throughout these next couple weeks. Bye for now.